Okay? So we're in the most exciting conversation, at least in this event, about requirements. We love requirements development, don't we?
Yeah.
All right. We laugh, we know it's important, but we don't really do it. Or we don't do it effectively, for that matter. So what I'm going to do and talk to you about in this session is how you effectively develop requirements for your SharePoint projects. One thing I didn't talk about this morning is I've been working with this technology since 2000, even before it was called SharePoint. And I had a great opportunity in the last 12 years to not only work with the technology, but make sure this technology works for the business that's supposed to help. And through the years, I've learned a lot, and I've pretty much put together a process on how to do this. In my past role, I had an organization where I trained a bunch of business analysts to be SharePoint business analysts. While there's a lot of technical nuances to this, there's also a lot of business analysis that comes along with this. So, to get the conversation started, friends, what do you think these numbers mean? If you've seen me do this already, just keep quiet. But if you haven't, what do you think these numbers mean? Phone number, yeah, maybe. What about you? What do you think? How much money I have? If that was true, I won't be here. Sorry. I don't love you that much. But maybe bank account, phone number, what? Social Security, random numbers. It could be anything, right? It could be right, it could be wrong, it could be anything. Now, what do you think this means? Collaboration, document management, knowledge management, BI, reporting, extranet, intranet. And that right there is the problem. SharePoint is a powerful platform, it's a rich platform, but we have our own interpretation of what it can be or what it is. And developing effective requirements is key to get people on the same page. The goal of requirements development is to get people on the same page. Project managers may have one need, but the executives will have another need. You can't just say, we're going to give SharePoint and then it'll work for everybody. It won't. What if I told you, friends, that these numbers are arranged in alphabetical order? Oh, very interesting. 8, 5, 4, 9, 1, 7, 6, 3, 2, 0. And that's what we're going to do this afternoon. I'll teach you how to get everybody on the same page as you start thinking about building SharePoint solutions. It could be a simple site. It could be a sophisticated workflow to do business process improvement. But as you build requirements, how do you get people on the same page, both from a business aspect and then technical aspect? I mean, come on. Today, what's the perception of SharePoint back at work? Does everybody love SharePoint? Or do they tell you SharePoint sucks? They tell you SharePoint sucks? Somebody was telling me earlier, in their world, they call it ScarePoint. Well, let me give you a piece of advice. When you go back to work on Monday, and somebody walks up to you and says, hey, I hate SharePoint. SharePoint sucks. Look at them straight in the eye and say, SharePoint doesn't suck. You suck. It's a freaking tool. You're a tool, dogs. No, anyway. Requirements is so important. Yet it's something that we don't really pay attention to. We're so caught up on technology. Stick it out there, it's going to work. But it's very difficult if you don't do it right. And I need to prove my point here. I need 4 volunteers. 4 volunteers. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. A practical process on how you develop requirements, how you get people on the same page. I'll show you examples. I'll demo some stuff. And hopefully this will help you as you go back to your organization. So first, let's talk about what are requirements, right? Requirements are something that's wanted or needed, something that's formally documented. And this is the important point I want to bring up, because in a lot of organizations I've seen, nobody really owns SharePoint. Hey, I need something done. I'll talk to IT. Hey, IT, I need something. No, I'm busy. Come back, wherever. SharePoint's not being taken seriously. If you want SharePoint to deliver business value, then take it seriously. Every year, you look at organizations, they budget for technology. How much is what's SAP? Or some high-end software people saw for some of these ERP systems, right? They have a line item there, and I'm sure it's not $100 because that's a platform. Whereas if you look at SharePoint budgets, we don't really have one, Ducks. It falls in our Microsoft bucket. People don't take it seriously. And if it's a requirement and it's formal, it means it's going to help the business one way or another. A requirement are capabilities that solves a problem because it's not just a cool thing to have. Oh, I want those newsfeed, Ducks. Why? Requirements would have constraints. So you can't go around and say, yeah, SharePoint can do that, SharePoint can do that. I had a customer walk up to me and say, hey, Ducks, I want to build a customer relationship management system. You should do all this in SharePoint. I said, no. Why not? There's something called Dynamics. Ducks, I want to build a project portfolio management system that can do resource management or SharePoint implementation, blah, blah. I said, nope. There's a product called Project Serve. Right? When you build requirements, it looks at 3 levels in this specific order, especially in the SharePoint world. A lot of times when I work with organizations who are in trouble, and they go, hey, Ducks, come look at our implementation. Something's wrong. It's not being used. I said, show me your requirements. Okay, here's our requirements. Medium-sized farm. How many web front ends? I said, this is cool, but why do you have a medium-sized farm? I don't know. I just went to Microsoft site. What's the business reason for this? When you build requirements around SharePoint, the very first type of requirement you look for is what are the business requirements? And I'll show you an example in a second. And then off of the business requirement, friends, you map it to what the user requirements are. And then off of the user requirements, then comes the technical requirements. But a lot of us, we don't really do it in this manner. We just stick in technology right away. Here are all the technology we have. Let's go find a problem. So how does that look, Doc? So let me show you a very simple example, okay? Very simple, and then you can extrapolate it to something more complex. For example, if you want to think about business needs, this morning I talked a lot about look for the pain points and the use cases and whatnot. This is a very simple one, but I'm sure a lot of you can relate. For example, how often does someone in finance or accounting have to deal with collecting a bunch of Excel files regularly and consolidate it to a single management report? For example, this morning I showed a little project site, and this is so true in one of the companies, customers I work with. At any given time, they have 100 projects. At the end of the month, they email project expenses in Excel to somebody in accounting. She gets in an email. She has to take those Excel file attachments individually and put together like a master project summary or a project expense summary every month. Y'all with me? What's a business need there, Docs? You ever wonder how much time this person's spending doing this? So I talked to this person. Again, let's call her Auntie Sally. Auntie Sally, how much time do you spend doing this? I spend 8 hours every month just doing this process in the last 10 years. And in a lot of cases, every month I do overtime. Because they send it to me last minute, so I have to do overtime to get this report done. That's a business need. So now, Docs, based on that need, how do you map it to business need, user requirements, technical requirements? Here's an example. Here's how you map requirements. So you have SharePoint, right? So as a business requirement, based on that need, SharePoint shall increase finance department's productivity by 15%. Because there's now a mandate that we can't hire more people, do more with less, and we found that Miss Sally is spending 8 hours. She should be able to do more and cut out all the manual stuff. So we're going to help her save time, be 15% more productive on a given day. And what's 15% on a given day? 8 hours. What's 15%? An hour, maybe a little less. It's not much. Again, baby steps, right? So what are we going to do, Ducks? Based on that business requirement, make sure you can map to a user requirement. So I talked to Auntie Sally more. I said, all right, So, Auntie Sally, you know, we rolled out SharePoint. Every project now has their project site. And instead of the project managers emailing you, what about you go to that, we use that technology, so we're going to cut out email. And all you have to do is go to that project site and take that data, whatever. Y'all follow me? But here's the deal. She tells me, bless your heart, Docs. I'm retiring in a year. I've been working with Excel all my life. I'm not going to learn anything new. I'm just going to use Excel. So if you tell me to go to this SharePoint, whatever this system is, I'm not going to do it. I'll just do email. I'm fine. You know Excel. Okay? So now that's a conundrum. You got SharePoint, you got this business need, you know, SharePoint can help, but from a change perspective, a doctrine perspective, she doesn't want to do it. She will only do it if it's Excel. Y'all follow me? User requirement. The user shall be able, if we want to make this work, the user shall be able to retrieve and synchronize project expense information in SharePoint from Excel without relying on email. So our goal is to make her save time. We're going to cut down email, no more attachment, but somehow if project managers enters the expenses, it's going to automatically show up on Excel on her desktop. Y'all follow me? And then whatever changes she makes, we'll synchronize. Okay. All right. Then comes technical requirement. How do we make this happen? Somehow, Microsoft Excel shall be able to synchronize information with a SharePoint site. That's how you draw requirements. Okay, docs, this is cool, but how do you do this? Let me show you. So, let me go to my Windows environment. Okay, so let me open up Excel. I'll show you a picture. So again, here's the idea, right? So let me go to my project site. So there's my project site, you know. So what we did now is the new process. We rolled out SharePoint. The first use case we found was use it for project management. We train all the project teams, project managers, no more email and Excel when you manage projects, one-stop shop, tasks, documents, meetings, there. As a part of this initiative, we're going to make expense reporting available here as well. Y'all follow me? Project managers will not send emails anymore to Auntie Sally. But then, Auntie Sally, she doesn't want to use this. She doesn't want to come here. All she wants to do is live in Excel. Fine. So, I said, all right, I'm going to show you Auntie Sally. So this is the executive presentation project for SPS Honolulu. So very simple. So I'll just kind of, so part of your exercise, you do this little prototyping sample. What if, you know, would this work for you? So let's say we bought a projector and we bought a computer for this project. We spent, you know, $400 on the projector, $200. So all I'm doing, friends, this is regular Excel, nothing out of the ordinary. And I'm just putting in information, so y'all should be familiar with this. So I'm going to put in currency, okay? And then here's what I'm going to do. So here's what I'm going to do, Auntie Sally. I'm going to take this information and convert to what's called an Excel table. All right? Now that I've converted to an Excel table, Auntie Sally, you see this little thing that shows? It says publish and sync with SharePoint. So what I'm going to do is I'll click that, and then it's asking me which SharePoint site you want to connect to. So I'm going to copy this. Oops. I'm going to copy this address, Control C, and let me go back to Excel. Control V. All I'm doing is I'm just typing in the address. I didn't want to manually type it because I may get it wrong. So SPS Honolulu expenses, whatever. H&L expenses. Okay, and hit publish. So as soon as I do that, what this is doing, friends, is Excel is contacting that SharePoint site, logging me in, making sure I can do what I'm trying to do, take this information, create what's called an expense list, make it available, and keep it in sync. So once that's done, let me bring it up. I'm going to view it. Notice that I'm on the same project site, so it's coming up. The expenses are there. Y'all with me? Okay, so let's test this out. So let me copy the address. So let's say I'm going to put on the hat as a project manager. Okay, again, I like my Mac. So a project manager goes to the project site, time to enter expenses. So project manager goes to this expenses, and by the way, I'm using SharePoint 2013 in this example. I don't know if you realize what just happened here. I'm on my Mac, I'm using Chrome, and I get the datasheet view. So project manager enters expenses. I bought a car for the project. I just need a car for a demo. There you go. I can do whatever I want in a presentation. At least I live out my fantasies, right? Okay. So here's the deal now. So let's think about it. Project managers don't have to email Excel sheets. They enter their expenses as they come. Y'all with me? So now, as soon as the PM enters this, and you know SharePoint has alerts, right? You can set an alert for Auntie Sally to get an alert. Hey, expenses was just entered. So Auntie Sally, again, she doesn't have to go to the browser. We just train her, go to Excel, and keep in mind this Excel file is on her machine. It's not a document library, it's on her machine. Okay? She comes here, and I'm going to teach her to click on a little button that says synchronize. Voila, car. But wait, there's more. She's going through the receipts and invoices. She goes, you didn't buy a car, you bought carpet. Somebody typed it incorrectly. $800. And now she takes that information and she hits sync again. And then as soon as she hits sync, that same piece of information, friends, is updated on that project site. You like this capability?
How come there's no button?
We can make the button appear. Like the button synchronized? Yeah, I can make it appear. It's no big deal.
Is that only 2013?
Somebody was like, is that only 2013? That's pretty cool. So first of all, who likes this feature? I have a good and bad news for you. The good news is it's not only 2013. The bad news is this thing has been around since Excel 2003 and SharePoint 2003. It's a freaking 11-year-old technology, and I'm not kidding. It's all out of the box. Friends, when we talk about requirements, not only do we consider, SharePoint's cool, technology. We think about the business need, but what's in between is the idea of change and adoption. What can you make the user do or not do? The whole telling people, you got to go to SharePoint and do it. I've given up on that. It's not going to work. What's going to work, though, is if you tell people there's a feature in Excel, there's a feature in Outlook, in their minds, I know Outlook, I know Excel. Use SharePoint as the engine to kind of do all this orchestration. And then there's going to be time they would want more. Well, what about this? What about that? And it's going to reach the limit. That's cool, because they already bought it. Y'all with me? Yes, sir.
So Aunt Sally leaves. It doesn't have a changeover with her replacement. What happens to the requirement when these people are updating the sheet?
We'll talk about that in a second, but quickly, part of requirements development process, you also define who the owners are, who's responsible. So you don't just do this and go have fun. That's a part of the big governance picture now, right? Because while this may look simple, this is a solution. Who are your solution owners? These are the things we don't think about. We just build it and throw it out there. Now, this is true. When I show this, and just like you, I'm sure you're all impressed, and wow, I could use that. So I taught her how to do this. She goes, this is perfect. So we built 99 others and hooked it up to the 99 other project site. And we created a summary sheet now. In Excel, you have a summary sheet and pull all the data in the other sheets. For her report, pivot table, and pivot chart, whatever. The third month after she was using this, she calls me and says, Docs, thank you. The last 3 months, I was measuring how much time I spend. And instead of 8 hours, I'm averaging 5-6 hours. Because I don't have to deal with email and all that stuff. And in the last 3 months, I didn't have to do overtime. Miss Sally's happy, she's saving time. No overtime for the company, ka-ching, ka-ching. That's business value. Yes, sir.
Is there any issue if you have...
Formulas?
No, if you have like 2010 SharePoint and?
No. Very good question. The question is, Doc, what do you have a combo of different tools? No, you can use Excel 2003 and SharePoint 2013, any combination as long as it starts with 2003. Quick wins. So I asked Miss Sally, so wow, that's cool. Now that you save 2 hours or maybe 3 hours every month, what are you doing now? I learned how to use Facebook. So that's my point, right? That was a simple, quick example, but you can extend that. So anytime now, the first rule, what's the first rule in Fight Club? Don't talk about Fight Club. Don't talk about SharePoint. Don't talk about the S4. Seriously, but that's what IT does. They go around, how do you like your SharePoint? Team site surveys, wikis, want to supersize it? Let's BCS it. Next! That's what we do. Go beyond that, because what we do is, oh, okay, we have an intranet, everybody has collaboration sites, go have fun. That's done. The next level of maturity is now go back and say, Miss Sally, what are you doing? How are you working on your projects? What keeps you up at 3 a.m.? That's the conversation, business need. Because if you keep talking about SharePoint, they'll just take it. No matter how fancy the SharePoint site template you give them, it's still a file dump. So how do you go through this process, Doc? So you map the requirements. This whole process is iterative. If you are in a 5-year SharePoint project, something's wrong. The power of SharePoint is you can deliver quick solutions regularly. You iterate through business needs, user requirements, and system requirements, and you show them. And here is the tricky part. The person who's doing this, is anybody working for Microsoft in this section? Okay, I can say this. Microsoft is doing a poor job in talking about this role. There's a lot of SharePoint jobs, I'm sure you know, mainland or here or anywhere else, but there's only 2 titles, admin or developer. No disrespect, those are important, but that's not critical. Because a lot of your existing admins and developers can learn and take on those pieces. But what's missing is this person as the business analyst, strategic solutions person. This individual, so let me share a tip. In my last organization, it's hard to find this person. If you're going to groom this person, get somebody who's an IT business analyst and then send them to SharePoint Bootcamp. And not how to build web parts or take care of the server. Send them to a power user bootcamp to know all the capabilities of SharePoint with the Office tools. Y'all with me? And their job as they go around asking for business needs, in their heads they're now thinking, okay, we can cobble this solution, Excel sync with SharePoint, maybe mobile. You follow me? And maybe they even build a solution. The key steps when you develop these requirements, regardless if it's business, user, or system requirements, are these 4 steps. So I'm going to go through these 4 steps and explain how it works. The first step to develop requirements, again, it doesn't matter if it's a business requirement, user requirement, or system requirement, is you elicit. Okay? You elicit requirements. Pop quiz. What does elicit mean? Elicitation. Anybody? To draw out. Yeah. It's one of those like, are you smarter than 5th grader word, right? To draw out and understand. Time for some tough love. A lot of so-called analysts are not analysts. They're note takers. All right, how do you like your SharePoint? Has to be pretty, you know? We're all concerned with the wrong thing. It has to be pretty. I don't want this color. Because the pitch is wrong. You're all pitching it as a website. As a file dumping ground. Forget that. Grow up. Talk about business needs. He's about to walk out. Duxon's just giving me a hard time here. So you got to understand or draw out and understand what the business needs are. So how do you do it, right? So if you're this person who's supposed to elicit, do your homework. What do you need to know? We roll out SharePoint. We have all these project sites. How do you do expenses? Well, we email Miss Sally in accounting. Hey, Miss Sally, so how do you take care? Y'all with me? Understand that process. It's not hard. Where do you get this? Again, talk to people. The problem is I've seen organizations where they send out there's a form and there's a requirements template. Fill out the requirements how you like your SharePoint. And then they'll go into the IT ticketing system and they'll go build it. Yeah, that's what you do. That's why it's not working. The difference is a lot of people tell me, well, Doc, you don't understand. We're so big, we can't service people. SharePoint is different. It has a lot of touch and engagement with the business. If you're telling me, Docs, we're not ready for that, then don't even do SharePoint. If you're using for a file share, it's too expensive. If all you want is people to put files that they have a web-based environment, I'd rather you use Box or Dropbox. The full power of SharePoint is this capability to enable improved business. So get the information, ask Miss Sally, organize what you know, and then think about if you have enough information, go back and ask. Right? The goal is to build solutions. We always end up throwing a nice Ferrari out there. I love cars. This is for a Lamborghini Ferrari. It's an expensive car. That's the same thing we do with SharePoint. Oh, we just did a 2013 upgrade. It's cool. It's got social. Here, have fun, users. The first 10 minutes, they'll be impressed. Ooh, nice car. And then suddenly they stop. I just learned how to ride a bike yesterday. It's called email and Excel, and I know it's slow, but I know it'll get me to work because I don't have time to learn this fancy car. But then there may be a group of people who gets excited, has no clue. They sit in the car and they, oh, stick? I don't know how to work this. Let me fill out a ticket request or call AAA. Hey, IT, how do you do the Fantastic 40? Those laughing, you know what I'm talking about. Don't ever use the Fantastic 40. The goal is not to pitch how pretty your SharePoint intranet is. What solution can I build for you? What business need can I fulfill? So once you've elicited the information, the next step is to take the information or take the requirements you've elicited and analyze this. Right? What do we mean by analysis? The goal is, first things first, you want to distinguish what the stated requirements are and make sure what the real requirements are. Y'all with me? They may say one thing, but maybe that's not the real thing that they need. And a lot of times, again, I'm guilty of this. I've been working in IT forever. If I deliver something and the business goes, that's not what I want. You didn't tell me what you want. Enough of that whining. You like it or not, it's our role to figure out what they need. Right? They may say one thing which they think that they need or want, but if it's not, then it's our role to figure that out. So, how do you do that? How do you do that? First you got to profile the users. So in my line of work, another area I focus a lot on is building project management systems. A lot of times, large organizations, I help with the first thing they say, Docs, we need Project Serve. We need Primavera. I go, why? Okay. Our projects are behind, it's out of budget, it's always late, so we think we need a really big system to take care of all this. What are you doing now? Email. Okay. Well, the intention is good, but deep in my heart, I know it's not going to work. I can throw it out there, but it's going to be a mess. So the real requirements may be, at least as a first step, is we just need to improve better scheduling or better resource management. Forget the technology for now. Right? Model it, right? Model it. So how do you model stated requirements? There's different ways of modeling. This morning I showed a swim lane diagram. That's a great way to model. Another way to model is to do a process flow diagram. And this is so powerful because what you do with this, so let's say somebody says, Docs, I need a project management system on SharePoint. All right, can we spend an hour with maybe some project managers and tell me how all this works? Indulge me. I don't know your company. Okay, Docs, when a project happens, we do this, and then we do that. What's so powerful with this, you get people in the room start talking and you lay it out like this. No, that's not how we do it. We do it that way. Y'all with me? Getting people on the same page. You model it. Use Visio. Or use the most powerful tool out there for modeling called paper and pen. And what's so amazing, if you do this, you will find gaps. So in this example, we helped an organization, Siemens, so this was a published case study, to put together the group was the partner marketing group. Siemens has a lot of resellers, and they need a really big partner management portal. Because the way they do it is email, Excel, and all that. And then they go, we have a lot of these events and activities. So we looked at the whole process. Okay, if there's a new event, what happens? If a partner requests an event, what happens? And then we mapped it out. That's part of doing your analysis. Okay. Once you do your analysis, you're not done. As a result, you go back to those requirements and say, okay, when I elicited, this is what they said. I did my analysis. I did process flow. I met with them. It looks like of the 5 things they said, only 3 things are legit, and I found out 2 more things. Okay. The next step is you validate. The idea of validation now is you go back to your customer and have them clarify and prioritize based on what you said. I went back and did my homework, and this is what I think you need. Which obviously we can't do it all. Let's prioritize. So how do you do this? I'm going to show you an example. So let's see, let me fire up Excel. So let me do mapping SharePoint. Here you go. All right, so here's how I do this. And again, I'll send this to you too. So this is a simple spreadsheet. And in this example, I was working actually with a county in Virginia. They were upgrading SharePoint this was back upgrading 2010. And they're trying to figure out and prioritize what are the key business needs that IT can help provide using SharePoint. So I went around and talked to the different departments. So the idea here is to understand what these business needs are. So on column A, we see the operation department, HR department, finance department. Column B, as I spent time with them, I started asking about what their business needs are. And I went back, did my homework, and came back and said, okay, so one of the business needs you told me is you guys want to improve how you do SOP creation because you email stuff, Excel, not efficient. And as you're describing that on column C, here's what I did, friends. I mapped it to out-of-the-box capabilities of SharePoint. That's the first rule. As much as you can out of the box until you know it cannot be done. The second rule, if you cannot do out of the box, go by third party. The last resort is you custom build it. Maybe because to security concerns or legislation, or there's just no solution. Out of the box, third party, custom build. If you're working with a so-called SharePoint expert, and the first thing out of their mouth, oh, we can build that in .NET and Visual Studio and deploy a package. Poser alert. It's important. That's why that analyst you have should know what SharePoint can do. And notice on column C, I actually made a drop down so I can pick and choose capabilities and map it to their business needs. We need to improve departmental orders, accident report reviews, HR monthly metrics report, collaboration, what have you, a lot of stuff. And then before I end the conversation with the group, I ask the last question. If you can have something today, if there's a business need we can solve right away, what would that be? Ducks, if we can streamline this accident report reviews, that would be huge because it's a matter of saving lives. Every minute counts. Okay, that's the first thing we need. The second thing, the third thing. Y'all follow me? You make them tell you what's important for them. You don't decide it because you don't know their business. That's the other problem with IT. We think we know what's best for them, so you need a site and my site and no. After you identify the business needs, you map it, you validate with them, you prioritize. You want to figure out what it's going to take to do this. So here's my scope analysis spreadsheet. In column A again, I've got HR operations, the different departments. But column B, I flip the view. Listen, based on what HR told me, and all their needs and all the features that SharePoint has, these are the features that HR need would help their business needs. Y'all follow me? These are all the features that would help operations. And this is how you figure out how you roll out SharePoint. A lot of people ask me, Doug, do we do my site first? We need a news feed. Okay. But now when I look at this, why are we building workflow for HR? Because it's going to map to the business need to streamline the performance evaluation process. Why do we need 2 web front ends? Because it's going to increase search and make it faster so we can increase productivity. Y'all with me? After you've extracted the features, you define the priority, column C. 5 is most important, 1 is not as important, and how I came up with this priority is based on what they told me. Docs, get the accident report review done first, this. And almost always, list and libraries would have a 5. What's the size and effort to do this? Low, medium, high, what do those mean? I have my own level of standardization. 1 means it's going to take 20 hours for my team, and it may be different from you. My metric here is based on my team who knows SharePoint. 2 is 3-person weeks. 3 is something standardized. 4, it's whatever. We need approval. So based on all the lists that we need to do for HR to satisfy their business needs, it's going to take 3-person weeks. What's the business impact? High, 3. How reusable is this solution? It's a 3. Not only can we reuse it for HR, we can templatize it and reuse it for other business groups. Y'all follow me? We can templatize site templates, workflows list. What's the total business value? It's a 9. So now you have a quantitative measure of the value of a specific feature to SharePoint that would meet their needs. Is this helpful, friends? You see, we came in my last role, I've been doing this the last 6-7 years because no Microsoft people here, right? Okay. Microsoft has nothing.
Excel, we'll need to talk about that Excel
Yeah, yeah. No, I know where you're going with this. But my point is, I put a lot of humor in kind of, no, Microsoft is great with a lot of the technical stuff. But you can't go to a customer and say, hey, marketing, we're going to put 2 web front ends, 1 SQL server. They don't care. They don't give a clue. But if we say, what's your business needs? Let's map this. Let's look at that. And this is how important things are. And by the way, since I'm the only person who's going to roll this out on top of my day job as a sysadmin, there's no way I can do all this. Y'all with me? And then you present it back to the business now and say, this is what it means if we roll out SharePoint today. And then you look at the reality of IT. Right? Well, there's the business value and business need. What's the impact to IT? Impact to IT is 1. 20 hours, because we got to configure AD, we got to set these up to make it work, stand up a VM, whatever. What's the support impact? It's 20 hours every month. It's beer o'clock. What's the training impact? And then what's the total IT impact? Now listen, this is important. Well, it may look great. Oh, wow, we figured out the business needs. You got to be realistic, too, and how much IT can do and cannot do. This is a conversation piece. You bring back the business. Hey, HR, even if it's a 9, it's a 3 for IT, which means it's outside of my budget this fiscal year. I don't have the resource to do this. Y'all follow me? And they get this. But you don't understand. If we improve this approval process, we don't have to hire contractors to do this manual stuff. This is a good conversation. You can now say, well, if it's that important, why don't you pony up business? That's something we don't do as IT. We think that SharePoint's all IT spend, rightfully so, from a platform perspective. We roll it out, we set up the internet, keep the lights on, that's great. But now when we get into the conversation of solving business needs that's quantifiable, they should pony up. if needed. Which may mean, well, we might hire a contractor or we train somebody, learn this stuff to do it and maintain it. Sir?
This is something tangible that you can take to your CIO or.
Exactly. And that's why this whole process came about. It's not to talk to IT about this, because in SharePoint projects, and especially large-scale ones, before I do anything, I said, this is what it means. So tell me, how much of this you want to do? Y'all with me? And I can prove to you how much of the business need, be it dollars, time, that you can save or make, what have you. And then just to end this conversation, you see these different colors? In this organization, this served as the foundation of their roadmap for their 12-month phased rollout. It became a 3-phase rollout. The pink is phase 1, the blue, phase 2, green, phase 3.
It helps in your development department too, because I know I need a document management system for HR. I need one for operations. I need one for, I need an auditing tool for resources.
Sure. And here's the beauty of this. Yeah, off of this, I typically build a more formal report and whatever. But now, 6 months in or 3 months in, somebody comes back and says, I don't like how it looks, make it pretty. You don't get that, right? Make my SharePoint pretty. Okay, let's go back to the business need. HR. I don't see making it pretty as a business need. Now, it may be a legitimate one. I don't know, compliance. Okay, that's fine. But let's do this analysis again in HR. This is what it's going to take to make it pretty. Fortunately, in 2013, making it pretty is easier. Now you have documented, not agreed upon, but getting people on the same page. This is how we're going to approach this. Is this clear? You can do this at a small scale or a large scale. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out the link between the department and this.
Yeah, so quickly. So let's say I've got operations. These are all the business needs. We're good. Based on the business needs, we map to SharePoint capabilities. You're good so far? And I asked them, what's important for you? Well, number 1 is accent report reviews. Number 2. And then I flip the view. When I go to scope, I take all these features and kind of flip the view now. These are all the features based on their business needs. And the priority, I figured that out based on their business needs. So if they said the accident report reviews are important, okay, then these would be 5s, these would be 1, etc. Does that answer your question, sir? And then you could do the linkages there.
So you're kind of mapping the out-of-box feature.
Yes.
Department initiative with the cost for that feature.
Yes. Because that's what the check writers would understand.
So where's the cost number or the level of effort to the initiative itself?
It's right here. So under size and effort, right? Again, this is relative. The effort here is based on my team. Right? And then the cost, the actual dollars, I didn't fill it in because it's different. You can certainly figure that out now. Once you have hours and estimates, if we hire external costs, it's going to cost. What about incremental costs? But you need this because the check writers or the business would understand this. This is what it's going to take.
So we could go back to the initiative tab,
Mm-hmm.
and for the first one, it listed 3 out-of-box features, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would add up whatever the cost numbers are on the scope figure to get a level of effort for that.
Yeah, I mean, you may.
SOP creation,
What's that?
go back to the department initiative.
Mm-hmm.
So SOP creation has those 3 out-of-box features in column C, right?
Yeah.
So you add up to whatever the.
How much? Correct. So now, exactly.
That's the number I want to see. I don't want to have to go look somewhere else and add them up.
But we can talk about that. I have something for that. But my point here is, remember, we're at the stage to validate and understand prioritization. And we can put that in. It's no big deal. Right? But this is part of the requirements development. And I guarantee you, not to shame anybody, I don't know how much of you do this. And I'm guilty of this too. When I got started in this business, I don't really do this. That's why we end up with bad SharePoint implementations. Was that helpful? Do you want to get that Excel sheet? Yeah, okay. Yes, ma'am.
How do you define out of box? 'Cause I'm a business analyst for SharePoint in my company, and my idea of out of box sometimes differs from what the engineer's definition
Sure.
of out of box.
Okay.
and my boss also has a different definition.
Very good question. So out of the box means you have to be 100% sure that you cannot do it with SharePoint, Office, existing tools.
Like InfoPath, SharePoint Designer.
That's out of the box. That's out of the box. Custom means going in Visual Studio and cranking out code.
You can put in an add-on, any web part.
It is out of the box. What's that?
So even if you procure something or you get a free add-on or a web part, that anything that will interact seamlessly with your.
So hold on. If you buy something that's not there, that's third party.
Like
Third
Bamboo
party
Web
add-on.
Bamboo or AppPoint or something.
That's.
Yeah. And here's the thing, right? Again, going back. Just that Excel thing. A lot of you didn't know about that. I've talked to developers where they actually built something to do that. And I'm sure that costs a lot of money and time. And maybe when the next service pack came in, it didn't work. So my challenge to you is, well, Dux, there's no way I can know all this stuff. I agree. Because that's not my day job. I'm the server admin. I take care of Exchange, Windows, AD, and SharePoint. And I'm not asking you to do that. But you got to get that business analyst person whose job is to do this. If you want to do it right. And maybe you can give them other roles like training and whatever, or mentoring. Step 5. Or step 4. Once you validate, understand the priorities, looked at some numbers, depending how far you want to take it, document it. Put together a requirements document that's formal. It should include all the information that you've gathered up to this point. Your requirements, your diagrams, your traceability metrics, your prioritization. And as you build this document, I'll show you a sample requirements document in a second. For me, and again, this is just a tip, the way I would write requirements is just very simple, but straight to the point. When you write requirements, make sure that your content is structured so it's easy to read. So this is the form I follow. Doesn't matter if it's business, user, or technical. Subject shall be able to do a certain capability within a certain criteria. Because if you don't put this, if you just say something shall be able to do, a subject shall be able to do some capability, that means it's going to work 100% of the time. So if I dissect the requirements I had earlier, SharePoint shall increase finance department's productivity by 15%. Subject, SharePoint. Capabilities, increase productivity. What's the criteria? 15%. Y'all with me? User shall be able to retrieve and synchronize project expense information in SharePoint from Excel without relying on email. What's the subject? User. Capability, retrieve and synchronize expense information in SharePoint from Excel. What's a limitation or constraint or criterion? Not use email. I'll show you a requirements document, and I'll send this to you too. SharePoint requirement. Here we go. So this is a governance document I had yesterday. Okay. So this is functional requirements for, it just says intranet, but it has a lot of business level applications as well. And formal, documented, so background, success criteria, business requirements, functional requirements, user requirements, everything is here. All the traceability, all that good stuff. Okay? Would that something be useful for you just to look at? Now don't take that and just put your name and start building it, all right? Well, Doc says this is how we build an intranet. No. You laugh, but that's what you do with governance. You download the governance template, you fill in the blanks, boom, we've got governance. I know how you work here in the island. To develop requirements, right? First things first, understand the business need. And think about how you drive change and make sure your users do it. What are the user requirements? And then the technical requirements, it's important, don't get me wrong, but that's the last piece of the puzzle. As you build your business, user, or technical requirements, you go through these steps in an iterative fashion. Gather and understand, elicit. What are your pain points, right? What do you want to use or not use? Analyze. Distinguish what the stated requirements are versus the real requirements. Use process modeling, swim lane diagrams. Understand the process and the flow. Look at what's important to them. So go back and report back what you find out. Validate, prioritize, use that spreadsheet, and then document it. What do you guys think? Helpful? Questions? Yes, ma'am.
If you have the challenge that Calvin was just doing, it's hard or difficult for the user to explain what they need, or they don't even know what's possible, so it's hard to.
Sure.
They might tell you something that they want, and then they don't know the other option available.
Absolutely.
So how would you fit in prototyping this process to give an idea?
Sure. So here's how I would do it. I don't really ask them what they want or they need. And sometimes, even if you ask them, what's your pain point? What are you talking about, Dr. Bill, right? No, I ask them, so how do you do the expenses? If there's one thing that ticks you off every day, like day-to-day, start with the day-to-day stuff, and you'll find a lot of stuff. How do you manage projects? How do you run your meetings? How do you build reports for the exec? Oh, I hate that. Every Thursday, I got to get all these Excel sheets, put together like PowerPoint. I do that every week. You know what I'm talking about. So my point being is, it's incumbent upon you to draw it out. Don't ask what you need. Just show it. Talk about examples, and especially if you know the person, you know your business, you can highlight examples. What if we improve that? What if you don't have to keep doing? What if you don't have to keep entering the same data in 10,000 places? If the project manager enters the expenses automatically show up in Excel. Would that be cool? Yeah, we should. The challenge is you have to know that it's possible.
And then to deliver it, now you set expectations.
Yeah, so I agree. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place here. I gotta know this stuff, or I gotta have somebody who knows. It is what it is. I can't sugarcoat it. SharePoint is great. It's powerful. But with great power comes fighting. Yes, sir.
Doug, we talked about requirements, we talked about governance document. One of the things I found out from my last organization was that if we didn't have a policy document that said you're going to use this technology to do
XYZ. Yeah.
XYZ,
It doesn't matter.
it wouldn't use it.
Absolutely. So that's a whole separate conversation. I have a lot of stuff on governance and, how do you need to have a chokeable neck? Seriously. There's no chokeable neck with SharePoint. Right? Who owns SharePoint? He does. No, IT does. No. Nobody owns it. Knowledge management does. No. Microsoft owns it. Right? So I agree. So even prior to this, at a more strategic level, just like what I talked about this morning, the powers that be should get this. And if they want to invest in this, it doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of value. So you got to get that done first. This part is assuming you're all in, you're using SharePoint, you want to maximize this. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to share on the requirements. I think there's an aspect of transitioning. So for my requirements, I also include transition requirements where I give the user the accountability
Absolutely.
to migrate some of their stuff. So they might have to clean their data if they want historical data into SharePoint. They're going to have to be accountable.
Absolutely.
Clean that, some of their business process, they're going to have to do that internally. And we can't just rely on IT in that document for the project to be successful.
And that has to be clear up front because we're going to help you build this, but tell you what, after we're done with this is what your responsibilities are. There should be a clean cut and not be a forever support. Right? So, but that's part of your overall process on governance, how do we deliver SLA, which projects do we work on or not work on, that kind of stuff. What do you think? Helpful, gang?
Very helpful.
All right, so I'll send you all this stuff. Mahalo, and thank you for being here.